everybody, I'm Caryn Hartglass. You're listening to It's All About Food. I'm here with my co-host, Gary DeMattei.
I'm back, yay!
Yay, Gary's
I
back.
haven't seen you in so long. How have you been, Caryn?
It's been a long few months away from home.
We've been away from home a long time.
We've been away from home since mid-November.
Where is home, anyway?
There's no place like home. Home is where the heart is.
Yeah, I forgot where we live.
We live in NYC.
NYC. NYC's doing really well. The state of New York, actually, has gone from, about 80,000 COVID cases?
85,000 COVID cases a day, Omicron, and now down to under 20,000, it looks like. So
under 20,000. Sounded like you just said 120,000.
No, under
20,000. Oh. Yeah, so I guess we have to talk about that.
But we're in California where the cases have been like over 100,000 a day.
Yeah, over 100,000. Now they're about, the latest was...
Under 100,000, like 90,000.
About 90,000,
yeah.
It's kind of grim.
It's grim, but we've been making the most of it. We've been out and about.
We've been out and about,
on.
Masked, walking.
We've been to a few outdoor restaurants.
Yeah.
Seeing friends.
Social distancing, of course.
Always.
And we're triple vaxxed.
Yay.
We're not afraid to say it.
No, we're triple vaxxed.
Triple
Hooray.
vaxxed and wearing masks. And now I don't know of any other way to live, do you? I mean, do you remember when it used to be just going places?
Without masks.
Without masks?
Yeah, well, you always were concerned about getting on a subway.
Yeah, long before
COVID hit. Yeah, because it was crowded. Everybody was breathing on each other.
Sneezing, coughing, spitting.
You could even see the germs all over the place. Just so many bodies so close together.
That's true. And I know a lot of people, even before COVID, were wearing masks on the subway, and I really respected that. So I started wearing face coverings.
Yeah, that's something that we just may continue doing.
I think I will.
In crowded spaces.
No, I know I will.
Yeah.
You know, even when, and I have to be optimistic, when this ends someday, I will go back to continuing to wear a mask on crowded trains and planes and automobiles and things of that nature. I hope people will consider that as well. I think the flus have gone down. A lot of people haven't gotten the flu.
I haven't been looking at those numbers. All I've been looking at is COVID numbers.
People that I talk to say, yeah, since COVID, I haven't got the flu, and I usually get the flu every year.
Well, masks help. We know they help. They're just inconvenient. We know when we're walking, we prefer to have our masks off. And if we're not near anyone, we keep them off. But as soon as we see people near us, we put them back on.
Yeah, like groups of people running, like right. The cross-country teams that run by you. And they don't seem to care about the fact that they're running and spreading.
Running and breathing and spreading.
Yeah. So
I don't want this to be normal, though. I don't want this feeling of seeing everyone in masks feeling like a normal thing.
No, I don't think it will get that way. Will it?
Maybe. I don't know.
It already has. I guess the thing that's abnormal now is when you see someone that doesn't have a mask on, you're kind of like, look at them with their naked face hanging out. How dare they? How dare they not wear a mask?
Well, we're all very good at judging right now, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
We're all picking sides.
Angry people. Really irritated and crabby. But this is not all about masks. It's all about food. And not only that, it's all about vegan food.
Vegan food. Plant-based whole food. There are so many ways to describe fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds.
Legumes, nuts and seeds. Mushrooms.
Yes.
Would that be considered a legume, nut, seed, whole grain, or
a fungus? Like a fungi, you, Gary.
Fungi. That's probably why I never warmed up to mushrooms. Get it? I never sautéed to mushrooms. I realized that at a very young age that it was fungus.
Yes.
But fungus, among us, is good.
It is. And fungi, they do so many wonderful things.
You know, I wanted to start with that because we were on our walk. This is a segue. And on the landscape that we were walking along, there were these toadstools, mushrooms, whatever you would like to call them that grow wild. And I said, oh, look at that, mushrooms. And you said they do so much. What do they do?
Right. Well, mushrooms and flies can live without us. We can't live without them.
Mushrooms and flies can live without us, but we can't live without them.
Yeah, mushrooms do such a great job at recycling.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, they take a lot of things and just rearrange them and put all these good things back into the soil so that we can grow things and use them again. And they break things down, things that are rotting, they help break them down, and that's what flies do too. And what do humans do?
They break things, basically. They create things and break things and not...
And I think mushrooms, maybe they're aliens.
Ooh, they look like spaceships.
They seem to be able to communicate to each other and to other things in ways that we don't yet understand.
I wish I liked them because, okay, for example, we went to our favorite vegetarian house the other day, which is kind of sad to go there. I love the place and I hope everybody goes to it. It's in San Jose. It's off of Santa Clara Street. Used to be the old Paolo's restaurant, and it's now the vegetarian house.
And I interviewed the manager, Sonny, on this
program.
Right,
Sonny.
Several times.
Yesterday, my life. Okay, anyway. And so it was late at night for the vegetarian house. I mean, I think they close at 8 now. And it's all just takeout.
There's no inside dining.
But they do have a little shed in the parking lot where you could get your food that's in a bag, and go and sit in their outdoor dining space and eat. So they're really trying to accommodate people that just want to hang out there because the energy is so great at Vegetarian House. But anyway, it was late. We were taking a drive. We thought we would stop at the Vegetarian House and pick up some food and take it back to our very small hotel room. And we'll get back to the hotel room in a minute. And we got our favorite Flying Buddha. And usually the Flying Buddha has like all kinds of really great little treats in it.
All kinds of chewy goodies.
Yeah. But this time, it must have been because it was late at night, and they do sell a lot of that soup. It's called the Flying Buddha. There were just mushrooms. And
there was some cabbage, and there were
what I meant was
nuts.
The goodies, the little chewy goodies, they just loaded it up with mushrooms. I mean, now for a mushroom lover.
Like me.
Like you, this was fabulous. For a mushroom person, anti-mushroom person, a person that doesn't really care for mushrooms, it wasn't too cool for me.
No,
so,
and you had to do a lot of fishing out those mushrooms to give them to me.
Give them to you, but you enjoyed it. And then you also had the lion's mane mushroom dish.
Yes.
Which is very, very mushroomy. So it was a mushroom. It's a mushroom
fest for Karen.
Kind of a mushroom fest for Karen, which is great.
Good.
Yeah, for me,
not so much.
Well, I enjoyed my heavenly salad. But mushrooms, there's a lot of them around, and that's good if you like them. If you don't like them, but you need them because they're important, especially if you're on a plant-based diet, what do you suggest, Karen?
Well, you know.
Supplements.
Supplements or mushroom powders. So you can cook with mushroom powders.
Right.
I can't speak for people who don't like mushrooms, but I imagine texture is one of the problems.
Well, yeah, it's the taste, actually, for me.
It's the taste. Okay. Well, then, so mushroom powders will have some of that taste that maybe you don't like.
But I've used mushroom powders.
And you like them.
And I like using them because I can't really taste them.
Okay, that's kind of...
I can't.
Or maybe you like the flavor it imparts, but it doesn't seem mushroomy somehow.
It doesn't seem mushroomy.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Something in the powder. Or you could take a supplement. There are vitamins that add mushroom powders to them concentrated. We've had a number of programs on mushrooms. I'll link them in this program.
Yeah, because I think this is the time of year for mushrooms, right? There's a lot of people cooking with mushrooms, stews and soups and...
Yeah, and mushrooms are meaty and heavy.
Yeah, and chewy. Yeah. Chewy. And I have tasted the lion's mane, and it doesn't bother me as much as the other ones. So if you're like me, really realize this, like I've realized, that you really do need mushrooms. So we were talking about whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, bean, that's legumes.
Fruits and vegetables.
Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds, and mushrooms. You need a lot of mushrooms. And so supplementing is great thing to do if you can't handle mushrooms. So get yourself a good mushroom supplement.
And there are so many. And there are so many different kinds of mushrooms. They're all good.
Yes.
Like a multi-mushroom.
A multi-mushroom supplement
could be good.
Yeah. But I do like working with powdered mushrooms. I always add it, and they go a long way because they're concentrate. Add it to soups, add it to stews, and it really does enrich the...
it gives that umami.
That umami. Umami. And another thing that does that we've talked about on this program before, is nutritional yeast. It gives you that umami.
Umami.
Yeah.
Umami.
But mushrooms, I wanted to touch on that because they're out now. They're growing.
But the ones we saw aren't the ones we want to eat necessarily. No. I don't know which ones are good.
Unless you're a mushroom expert and you know how to hunt mushrooms and
discern the poisonous ones from the edible ones.
Right.
Stay away from them.
And here's some official news. It's official. It came out a couple of minutes ago on one of the veg sites. January 24th, 2022. They reported that last week on the Jimmy Fallon Show, comedian and animal rights advocate Ricky Gervais, very funny man, announced on Jimmy's show, The Tonight Show, that he's finally vegan after years of being meat-free. Yeah. And it was really funny how they got this information, because Jimmy, I guess, was asking a series of questions like, if you were a cannibal and you know there was nothing left to eat, who would you eat? And then, he said, and if you were a cannibal and there was nothing left to eat, what beetle would you eat? Meaning, John, Paul, George, or Ringo. And the way Ricky kind of snuck in the fact that he wouldn't eat any of them because he's vegan.
Right. Oh,
so
that's nice.
That's really cool.
Those are really ridiculous questions, and I don't know how many of you as vegans have gotten ridiculous questions like that, but it's hard for people to digest sometimes that you're a vegan. I remember getting questions from young people a lot. What if you were on a deserted island and there was no food? Would you eat an animal then?
Yeah.
And my thought was, aside from the fish in the ocean, if there were animals on land, what were they eating? Yeah. I would want to eat what they're eating.
Yeah, those are ridiculous questions. It's strange, though, because people will always try and test you.
Yeah, test you.
And why is that, I wonder? Why do they say, come on, don't you miss it? I get that a lot. I get that. Like when you get up from the table, if we're, in the days when we used to have dinner parties and we had friends over. And most of the time when we've had friends over, they haven't been vegan and we've served them a vegan dinner. And so, like, if you got up and went into the other room to, make the coffee or whatever, and they would look at me and go, so come on, don't you miss it? Don't you miss eating a big, thick, juicy, and then they'd, fill in the blank with whatever the big, thick, juicy was that they were probably wishing they had in front of them at that moment, because they just had to have a
Karen and Gary's vegan meal.
Yeah.
No, they love our food.
Yeah, no, but seriously.
Yeah, they do that.
They try and test you. They try to see that, do you go out and sneak a hamburger? I mean, I've had that question asked a lot.
I know.
Because they know that I'm the newbie. Well, no,
you're not new anymore. I don't think they ask you anymore, do they?
At the time. Oh, no one asks me that anymore because
now you're a seasoned vegan.
I'm a seasoned vegan, yeah.
It's been over 15 years, Gary.
It has. So now I know a thing or two about vegan cooking, vegan food. So anyway, that was really good news about Ricky Gervais because I knew he was really an animal rights activist. But then there's always that thing, and this is what we're going to talk about now, another segue, because we've been watching a show on PBS. And on the one hand, which we'll get into in a minute, the show is really lovely. On the other hand, it's dreadful because we're vegan. So none of this would need to take place. But anyway, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I knew that Gervais was an animal rights activist, but he wasn't vegan, and that kind of cancels out the animal rights.
It's difficult.
Activism.
We're grateful for everyone who decides to eat fewer animals and fewer animal products, and they're on the path and realizing that they should eat less. And there are some that say that it would be better if more people ate less animals rather than making the world vegan.
Right.
But I think there's something to being vegan. It's just a level of awareness.
Exactly.
And sure, sometimes it's difficult. And I feel that making that step, going that extra mile to not consume things that are convenient or easy,
right,
is a statement. And it's an important statement.
It is. It takes courage, and it takes guidance. It takes people to tell you the truth about the fact that you don't need meat to survive. You don't need it for protein. There's protein in plants. I mean, these are all basic concerns of people that are thinking about taking the plunge into going vegan. Once you do, you realize that everything else is so hypocritical, right? And that's the animal rights activists who aren't vegan. It's kind of
or the environmentalists who doesn't realize that eating animals is devastating to the planet environmentally.
Right.
Sure.
So there's all of these great causes now, but really it all comes back to, do you eat animals? Because
I'm glad you brought up hypocrisy.
Right.
Because that's what we're going to get into next when we talk about
all creatures great and small.
Yeah, when it opens up, you can see the little cartoon dog's tail is wagging, and
yeah, it's so fun
sweet
and idyllic and just lovely Yorkshire countryside.
Yes.
So it's really it's all creatures great and small, and it's a television series on PBS set in 1937, based upon a series of books about a Yorkshire veterinarian written by Ulf White, Wight, under the pen name of James Herriot. The series was produced by PBS. It's an adaptation of White's book.
And there was another
it was
90 episodes,
right,
like in the 70s or something.
Yeah, it follows the previous BBC series of 90 episodes that ran from 1978 to 1990, which is still regularly reshown, and is one of a series of movies and television series based on Herriot's novels. It's filmed in the Yorkshire Dales. Just beautiful countryside. I mean, the setting is just gorgeous.
I had decided to watch it because I was reading an article about it and saying how when the first season came out, it was when COVID started. And a lot of people found some kind of solace or just some comfort into seeing these slow-moving stories. We laugh because it's like a Hallmark movie in some ways. It's really corny. It oozes corniness.
Right.
But there's something very sweet about it, and old-fashioned.
Right. The show revolves around a trio of veterinary surgeons working in the Yorkshire Dales beginning in 1937. It's a veterinary practice, and, watch it. It's great. It's comforting on the one hand, but if you're an animal rights activist and a vegan, and they're very careful to sort of gloss over any of the really horrible things that they do to animals after they raise them.
Okay, well, clearly there are no factory farms here.
No.
The animals that are owned by the farmers live on grassy knolls, and they're always chewing the green grass, and it looks like they have a nice life. But the obvious elephant in the room is a cow.
The elephant in the room is a cow.
These animals are there either for their meat or for their milk or for their eggs and then their meat.
Or there's a lot of sheep.
And there were sheep too.
Yeah, and they're obviously there to be sheared.
So the animals are there to exploit.
Right, and the vets take care of them and keep them well so that they can be slaughtered or what have you. So on the one hand, you're seeing this really idyllic farm life in the Yorkshire Dales. On the other hand, you're thinking to yourself, well, they've just saved this poor cow's life, and they're sitting down to a meal of beef Wellington at Christmas time.
Exactly. So they're always concerned when the animal is sick, when the animal is suffering, or if a cow is giving birth to a calf and it's not going well, and they're also concerned, and then they're also moved when the calf is successfully born and the calf is being nurtured by the mother.
They're showing all of that really wonderful.
And we're marveled by life and birth.
And how beautiful it is and how wonderful. And then they sit down and have...
And then you realize what those animals are there for. And they're there for their meat. They're there for their milk.
They're eating the Christmas goose.
That's where the word hypocrisy comes in. How do you love a being so much, but then you kill them?
Right.
Anybody have the answer to that question? Please. I'd like the answer.
Let us know.
If you have the answer, send an email right now to info@realmeals.org.
Yeah, and and I've heard a lot of people give reasons for this, that we as humans, in order to survive, we compartmentalize in our brains. We put these little boxes around things and we don't let our objectivity in. We don't let our feelings get into there. But when you become a vegan, you connect the dots, and all of a sudden the facade, the veil is lifted, the walls drop, and you're like, wait.
Yeah, you watch a movie like this, and it's all
and
so
it's really
calm and lovely and beautiful, and then wait a minute.
You realize you're being brainwashed into thinking that this is to have a man put his arm all the way up the uterus of a cow in order to untwist the foal that's ready to, I don't know the proper terminology. I probably will get to be more of an expert with veterinary terminology when I watch season 3, because I will watch season 3. All creatures great and small, the vegan edition. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for when we tune into the
next season.
Yeah, they turn the practice into a farm sanctuary.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
And they go and rescue all of these animals.
So on one hand, these veterinarians are doing a wonderful thing, because from time to time, animals do have problems giving birth, and these veterinarians help.
Right.
They do help. It's just so odd to see them so matter-of-factly stick their arms inside these animals, inside their private areas, just so matter-of-factly.
Yeah, it's like no big deal. And like you said, there's a lot of veterinary surgeons out there that save lives, that save our pets' lives and farm animals' lives every day. And then they're saving their lives for what? So that they can go get slaughtered, so they can stay healthy and not infect the herd. And they're always injecting something into an animal. They're always, pumping some kind of syringe full of something and giving it to them. And on the one hand, as I said, it's really lovely. On the other hand, it's horrifying to see what goes on these.
And isn't that life on planet Earth? Lovely, but also maybe horrifying.
Yes.
There are a number of storylines in this program. And one of them is this very wealthy woman who has her little dog.
Yeah, so let's talk about the little doggy.
And she loves her little dog. Her little dog, she even said it at one point in the program, that she didn't have any children. She didn't have any grandchildren to shower gifts and pamper. And so what she does is pampers this little dog and feeds the little dog all the inappropriate foods. And as a result, the little dog is always sick. And always going to the vet.
In the first season, it was Diana Rigg who played the character's name is Patricia Hodge, and it's Mrs.
Pumphrey.
Mrs. Pumphrey, and Patricia Hodge played her in series 2 because Diana Rigg, the famous Dame Diana Rigg, I think she was a dame. Anyway,
Diana Rigg passed on.
Yeah. And so the actress who took over is Patricia Hodge, and the character is Mrs. Pumphrey, the wealthy owner of the indulged Pekingese Tricky Woo.
Yes, Tricky Woo.
Tricky Woo is the dog. And the dog should receive an Emmy Award, because I don't know if it's the same dog, but the dog is brilliant.
Actor, brilliant.
As a teacher of acting, as an actor, as a director, myself, I have to say that this dog deserves many awards.
But here's another example, Gary, of people who love their animals, but at the same time they're killing them. Now, she doesn't want to slaughter this dog that she loves, but she's killing them with the food that she's feeding him.
Right.
And she doesn't want to hear from anyone about what the dog really needs to eat.
Exactly.
What is that?
Well, I mean, isn't it true that humans kill one another with serving them these rich foods that they think they're luxuriating them with and showing love with? I mean, we find this all the time. We see people
Let's celebrate something, and we celebrate by consuming all the things that aren't good for us.
Right. And so what is that? It's got to be something else. Because I was just talking to a friend of mine who was on a 21-day fast. Mm-hmm. And he's fine. He said, the 21 days made me realize that the food we eat is literally poison. We're poisoning our bodies. Mm-hmm. And that poisoning of the body is supporting a lot of giant pharmaceutical companies and supporting a lot this healthcare system that we're all subjected to now. He said, 21 days on this fast, and I'm all of a sudden, conspiracy theories abound, and I'm thinking, everyone is out to get us, and, glosses it over with lovely photographs of this food that we think, we need to eat, we should be eating, we deserve to eat. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. We deserve to eat this rich food because we've worked hard. And what it's really doing is it's poisoning us. So, I don't know. What is that about?
You've said it before. You've said that humans are a poorly designed prototype.
Yeah. Or maybe there is really something at work here that's trying to, lead us all astray. Again, the metaphors of the Yorkshire farm life, lead us astray. Who is going to shepherd us back to reality? Who's going to bring us out of this comatose existence that we're sort of all in? I mean, we're all walking around in a coma, basically. And a few of us are now coming out of it. I mean, how many times have you told someone you're a vegan and have heard them say, "Oh, God"?
You've heard it more than me.
Yeah, I'm a vegan. Oh, God. We've always given the comparison of, this is an absurdist play. This is a Ionesco play. It's really incredible that so many people just don't want to hear or see how their food gets on their plate, but they just want to consume it, and then they want to talk about how sick they are. And I think this is a great time to segue into, some of the work that you've been doing lately to help people who have asked you. You've never stood on a soapbox and preached to people per se, but if somebody asks you, you tell them. Yes. And that's why you founded the nonprofit, for people who are curious.
I want to talk about two separate subjects. The first one's shorter, I think, than the second. So the first one is people who come to me for advice about cancer.
Right.
Because I'm an expert. I've had cancer, advanced
I guess
cancer.
That makes you an expert.
That makes me an expert because I've survived. And it's been almost 16 years since I was first diagnosed. The thing that I'm learning, and it's very, very difficult, it's very, very sad.
It's very, very sad.
Is if you do have cancer, in my opinion, you want to get cured as soon as possible. If you have tumors, get them surgically removed. If they cannot be surgically removed, however you can, shrink them and get rid of them. That's the ideal. But the medical community today supports maintenance of cancer.
Sure.
Maintenance of cancer, meaning we'll give you some sort of chemotherapy, and some of it is by injection and some of it is by pill, and that will control the cancer for a period of time until it doesn't work anymore.
And usually it's about 5 years, right?
It's, and the people that I know that have been involved in this, it's been, 5-7 years.
Right.
Okay, so people do live a certain amount of time, and maybe they are indeed living longer. So some would say that's a good thing. They may not be living a quality life longer, but it sure makes the numbers look good for science and research showing that we are extending life with these drugs. But I think it takes the focus away from solving the problem. My dad used to say, if you can't solve the problem, eliminate the problem. The problem is cancer. How do we eliminate it, not maintain?
So you're saying, and this is your opinion.
In my opinion.
And your opinion only. So we don't want anyone thinking that this is anything but Karen's opinion. In your opinion, people need to go for the cure.
Yeah, and doctors don't like to talk about the cure because a lot of them don't know how to give you the cure. There's not a known drug, for example, that you can take.
Right.
But what I'm always recommending is a very multifaceted approach. Nutritional excellence.
Again, this is your opinion.
My opinion.
Based on
my own experience.
A considerable amount of experience. And I know I hate when people say this. I've done the research. But you have done exhaustive research on this. And you have consulted a lot of doctors.
Yes.
And read a lot of books. And I was there to witness it. But again, this is just Karen's opinion. Karen's podcast. Karen's opinion. Karen, go ahead.
It's a multifaceted approach, in my opinion. How many times can I say that? You want to put in your body the best foods you possibly can. There's no gray area here. You don't want to put in anything bad, because if you're in a healing crisis, you don't want to give your body anything complicated. Just good stuff. So that's dark leafy green vegetables, raw and cooked, juiced, blended, any way you can consume them and in all ways. Because greens have nutrients that are important in the raw form, but sometimes they become more absorbable in the cooked form. So I think you want to do it from a multifaceted approach. And then the mushrooms you spoke about before, I've always called them natural chemotherapy. And then the things to avoid, of course, are animal foods, processed foods, salt, oil, and sugar.
All of the poisons they were giving Tricky Woo. Tricky Woo, the Pekingese, on all creatures great and small, ate a lot of
And then a lot of people have emotional problems. This is a very difficult planet to live on.
Very difficult time to live on this planet.
People have been traumatized in many ways. They have anxiety. And sometimes the trauma you've experienced isn't necessarily real, or something that you believed happened that traumatized you didn't really happen the way you experienced it, but it's real to you and it manifests this way in your body. So I always recommend find out what's bothering you and figure out how to deal with it, because emotional problems affect you physically.
Right. And your environment affects you physically.
And your environment.
In your opinion.
Absolutely. So meditation is important. Exercise is important.
But if you're in a toxic environment, get out of it.
Yeah, sometimes
difficult to do.
People cannot do that.
Very difficult to do. But save yourself. Go.
Right.
Leave.
But the doctors will say, here, you can have this chemotherapy and we'll keep you on it.
And they call it maintenance. Yeah. A lot of them. They have these really...
I don't think all the doctors are upfront. And you have to ask difficult questions. In fact, I came up with a lot of difficult questions when I was asking my doctors, and they bristled sometimes when I would ask them. But Chris Wark, Chris Beat Cancer or something like that, he's got a website. He has a list, and if you can't find it, I'll send you a link or I'll post it here. But he has a list of difficult questions to ask your oncologist.
Right.
And I think it's really important for anybody going through cancer and consulting and going to oncologists to ask these difficult questions.
Chris Wark is an author, speaker, and health coach. In 2003, he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. He had surgery to remove the tumor. And for post-surgical therapy, he used nutrition and natural therapies to heal himself. So that's kind of what you're talking about here.
It is. I don't agree with everything he says, and I'm sure people don't agree with everything I say, and that's important. You listen to a lot of people, and you do what makes sense to you.
Yeah, and
but unfortunately, I know a number of people who have had cancer didn't use the approach that I think works best, and they've died.
Yeah, some people that have been very close to you.
Yeah, and it's really difficult.
Okay, now you're tearing up.
Yeah, to go there. All right, so that's cancer, and if you have any questions, I can send you an article I've written that can provide some references and resources that may be helpful. And I'm happy to do that. You know where to find us, info@realmeals.org. But here's a happy story.
Here's the second part of this two-part.
Exactly. Now, when people ask me, I've got, this health condition, I've got this health condition, do you have any recommendations? And of course, I do. There are books I recommend. There are interviews that we've had on this show that I recommend. I can give all kinds of references and resources. And sometimes I'll recommend that people go to a retreat or a certain clinic to get help. And a friend of mine was suffering from diverticulitis, diabetes, high blood pressure, and fibromyalgia.
Yes.
And I recommended that he go to Dr. Furman's retreat in San Diego. He was going to go there for 3 months. He was there for a month. He had tremendous results. He's off all of his blood pressure meds. But COVID's going around, and he was uncomfortable being there, so he wanted to come home. And he came home, and he wanted more help because he knew that this particular diet was going to save his life. Greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. Dr. Furman's G-bombs. So he asked us for assistance. And he was coming home, and he asked us, since we were in the area, if we would prepare some food for him before he got home. And what we did was prepared 3 full dinner menus that ended up being more than a week's worth of food.
Yeah, totally.
And since that time, he and his girlfriend have been doing a great job of staying on the path. But
Yeah.
I wanted to just share the menus that we put together, maybe give you an idea of what you can do. And most of these recipes are at Responsible Eating and Living.
In 1 month, he lost 19 pounds. When he left and when he came home, he looks like his skin is better.
Right.
His eyes are brighter. His personality is perkier. And he was always a very perky guy. And his partner looked amazing as well.
Right. His diverticulitis is gone. He thinks his diabetes is gone, but he hasn't gone to his doctor yet. He's off his blood pressure meds. And the fibromyalgia is better, but it's going to take a while before that totally
This was
goes
only
away.
30 days.
Just 30 days, right?
So anyway, yeah. So you made some meals, and wow, they were amazing.
He's of the Jewish faith. He's not particularly religious, but he likes the Jewish community, and he does a lot of activities with Jewish communities. So he was coming home on a Friday night, and I thought I would make him what's called a Shabbat dinner. That consisted of, instead of chicken noodle soup, we have a consommé recipe at Responsible Eating and Living, and we served it with lentil noodles, thin lentil noodles.
Right, they're these red lentil noodles.
They're just made from red lentils.
That's it.
And the consommé was made from leeks. It was primarily leeks and celery and some other vegetables. And then all the vegetables are cooked. And then you strain off the broth from the vegetables. And I saved those vegetables, and I will tell you about them later. So there was the consommé with noodles. We made the pumpkin seed encrusted tofu, which was kind of like our chicken dish.
Right.
And that's also at the website. That's a favorite that we like to make, where it's not breaded in a flour, it's breaded in a pumpkin seed, a seasoned pumpkin seed breading.
Right. You grind the pumpkin seeds.
Yeah, but there are no grains. It's just the seeds and seasoning.
And it's delicious, and it's better the second day cold. It's like
that's true.
It's
better.
like, you know.
And then I made what we call vegan chopped liver. It's a string bean walnut pate.
Delicious.
And for dessert, an apple pie. Now, there are variations on these recipes.
Right.
And for him specifically, I made the versions that had no salt, no oil, and no sugar.
And they were delicious.
Amazing, right?
Yeah. So that was just night one.
That was night one.
And so there's lots of leftovers. And we did some crudité for the green bean pate, or what you would call the vegan chopped liver.
Time-tested
and it's
family
Lois
recipe.
Hartglass's recipe.
Yes,
Karen's
my
mother. Lois. Hello, Lois, if you're listening. Hi, Lois.
That was the first day. The second day, I made a French theme. And the French theme consisted of ratatouille served on baked polenta cakes.
What is ratatouille, Karen, for those folks that think it's a Disney movie only? About a rat. Who is a chef?
That's right. Ratatouille is a traditional French dish. It's usually made in the summer. But you can make it any time of year because we have access to everything, especially here in the United States. But it's like a stew made from eggplant, zucchini, bell peppers, like red peppers, tomato,
onions,
and I like to add herbe de Provence, which is a mix of herbs like basil and thyme and lavender. It varies by brand and locale, but it's a very nice mix of herbs that grow in the French Provençal region. And then the French typically add a lot of olive oil. A lot of olive oil. I don't add any. And there are many different ways to make this ratatouille. Some people take a really long time to make it, cooking one vegetable at a time. But I just use a pot. When I'm at home, we use our Dutch oven.
Our Le
Creuset Dutch oven, and just chop everything up and cook it, and it all just melts and just becomes really yummy. And you can serve it hot or cold. So I thought they could serve it hot, and I made what I called polenta cakes, which was just polenta cooked from the polenta grain, corn. And I added some onion powder, and I sauteed some chopped celery.
But you saute in water, right?
I sauteed in water.
Right,
Yeah.
because saute confuses people. They think they need to saute in oil.
Yeah, it's called dry sauteing, but it's not dry.
Water sauteing, or water in vegetables,
sauteing,
or saute in vegetable stock. It's really
so instead of oil, you just chop the vegetables and cook them in a frying pan.
A lot of people can't break that saute in oil or butter. They think they need to.
Yeah, you don't need it.
You really
and it's
don't.
better for you, so much better.
Yeah, and it works just the same.
So I added the celery because celery has a lot of minerals in it, and minerals give food a salty flavor. So rather than adding salt, you can use celery or celery juice.
So then your instruction, because you left a very detailed instruction manual on how to assemble each of these meals, with the polenta cake was to serve the ratatouille on top of the polenta cake?
Yeah, so I told them to bake the polenta cakes until the edges got a little crispy.
Right.
And then they could warm up the ratatouille and pour it over the polenta cakes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Now, something that they learned from the retreat was to eat big salads.
Right.
So all of these meals that I prepared went along with big salads. And we
prepped a lot of lettuce.
Dressing for them, and they learned how to make some of their own dressings. This ratatouille and polenta cake went with the salad. And I also prepared some poached pears with raspberry coulis.
For dessert.
Which is a very French dessert.
It's very simple.
It's the simplest thing, and I forget how fabulous it is.
Right.
Now, the French might want to add a little whipped cream on top.
Sure, who wouldn't?
It's not necessary.
But you could whip up some coconut cream.
You could make a vegan whipped cream, but just the fresh poached pears with the raspberry sauce is just delightful. Then the third menu was Mexican style, and we made enchiladas. Now, you know I'm kind of nuts for making my own tortillas.
Yeah, you did.
And we made a ton of organic masa harina corn flour tortillas.
Delicious.
And a quick tomato sauce.
A quick enchilada sauce made with a tomato base instead of with a chili pepper base.
Right.
So if you know, it worked out really well.
It did. But the secret, I filled it with some sauteed vegetables and corn, and it had beans in it, black beans.
Mm-hmm. They were black bean enchiladas with sauteed vegetables.
We pureed the cooked vegetables from the consommé that I made for the Shabbat dinner.
It was great. All of those leeks and all of that celery.
Pureed with some cashews. That was your idea.
Yeah, we did a cashew cream and then we added all of that cooked veggie in, and it made a wonderful vegetable cream base for the filling for the enchilada.
Oh my God, it was so amazing.
So we mixed all the veggies and the beans with that cashew cream vegetable goo, I guess. We added a little nutritional yeast to it.
It was rich.
It was
felt
great.
rich.
It felt rich, but it was, It
was just good. It was
really good.
So there's something for you to think about.
Cashews are magical.
Yeah, and it made a lot of enchiladas, and he's probably still got them in the freezer.
A lot of folks like cheese in their enchiladas. This really worked out great as something creamy with the vegetables. So then we rolled those up, and we froze a bunch of them. You served that with what? What did you serve the enchiladas with
right.
that
So
night?
The enchiladas, well, they had...
What were some of
the other... They had
other...
their salad and their dressing that went with the enchiladas, of course, but we had a whole grain mix that we like to make with millet and black rice and red rice and brown rice. And for dessert, I made these black bean brownies with dates.
They're so good.
They're not very sweet, but I think
they're plenty sweet.
I really like them.
Yeah, and so the dates sweeten it up. And again, if you wanted a little dollop of a whipped topping on your poached pears with raspberry coulis, you could take some coconut cream and blend it up with some dates, and it would be a nice topping.
Cream.
You could even use cashews. Make like a creme anglaise with cashews, dates, and a little water.
That sounds really good.
So there's things you can do where you don't need to use, dessert-wise, you don't need to use sugar. And it's rather sweet. And dates work really well. And you get that fiber.
Dates are the best sweetener.
Yeah.
The best sweetener you can get.
And I think what the retreat probably also did, sort of cleansed the taste buds.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Of course.
Started to free them again. They weren't...
When you consume salt, sugar, and oil will coat your tongue. So you don't really taste anything.
You don't really taste anything, yeah.
And then the salt just excites everything, and the sensitivity of your tongue goes down. It's not as sensitive.
So it takes a couple of days to get your palate back in action.
It does.
Maybe longer.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Anyway, he's sticking to it.
And he's doing great.
I'm very proud of him.
Probably still has some leftovers from all of that food we prepped, which was great. But you did most of the work. I was just helping. I'm helping.
So meanwhile, we've been here since mid-November. We've been directing a show that's been postponed twice, and now it's in
3 times
in COVID postponed stage. And we're going to go home soon. But we've been in a hotel for over 2 weeks now, and we picked this hotel because it was advertised having a fully equipped kitchen. And I have to say that the kitchen is not fully equipped.
Well, it doesn't have a can opener.
It doesn't have a can opener.
I mean, a fully equipped kitchen, it has a bottle opener. You can open a lot of bottles.
It has a full refrigerator. It has a big refrigerator.
Yeah, it has a
microwave.
2 burners.
Two burners, not 4, but 2, and that's fine. And it has a dishwasher. And that's what makes it fully equipped. It has serving for 4, so we have 4 plates, very small bowls,
very
4
small
mugs,
cups,
4 large glasses, 4 small glasses. Then we have a soup pot, a medium saucepan, and a small saucepan, and a frying pan. And then some kind of microwave saucepan and a microwave platter.
And a toaster.
But
not a can opener.
We don't have a ladle.
And there wasn't
There's no chef's knife. We had
a
beg for one, and they gave us one that was dull.
And it has one of those glass cutting boards.
A tiny glass cutting board.
Why would you have a cutting board made of glass?
Oh, it's so painful to hear things being chopped on a glass cutting board.
Let's talk about this for a second. Why a cutting board made of glass?
Well, here's something. Because you can put it in a dishwasher at very high hot temperatures and sanitize it. Yeah. Okay. I mean, wood you cannot sanitize like you can glass. It's just been very frustrating.
You can chip your glass into your...
It's very frustrating. We don't have any wooden spoons. We don't have any plastic serving spoons. We don't have big bowls.
There's 2 plastic utensils.
One is a spatula and one is a slotted spoon.
Right, there you
go. And a slotted spoon doesn't hold much soup, but it can
catch the potato. Thank you, Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine.
Okay, so what are we doing? We have this big soup pot, and that's where we toss the salad.
Sure, we don't have a salad bowl. We have a soup pot.
And there are no tongs.
No tongs.
So we have these 2 large tablespoons. They're a little larger than tablespoons, but they're not quite serving spoons.
They're what I would call a soup spoon.
They're bigger than a soup spoon.
No, for me.
Okay.
They're a soup spoon for me.
A big giant spoon.
I would call it a tablespoon.
It just seems bigger than a tablespoon, but that's what we have. 2 of them, not 4 of them. Right. So if we had 2 people over for soup, we wouldn't.
I don't think we could get 2 people in this room. I really don't.
So I've been creative. I made soup one day in the soup pot, and when it was all done, I'm looking around. Where's the ladle? There's no ladle. But there were measuring cups.
Odd. That was odd. There are measuring cups.
So I used the 1 cup measuring cup as a ladle. But then you ask yourself, or I asked myself, what are the measuring cups for?
There's no oven.
What are the measuring spoons for?
There are measuring spoons.
Measuring spoons and cups. There's no big bowls to mix anything. You were saying some people bake in the microwave. Okay. But there are no bowls to mix anything in.
What?
What were they thinking?
What are they thinking?
Now, I asked the general manager here.
Yes, you did.
And I got a note back saying that they've done a lot of research to determine what they should supply their fully equipped kitchen with. And what we got is what their research told them. This scares me.
But here's the other thing. It serves one of those evil breakfasts every morning.
Oh, please. Now, over 10 years ago, I wrote a blog post at responsibleeatingandliving.com about the breakfast served at Hilton hotels. And yes, we are in a Hilton hotel right now, folks. We're in a Homewood Suites.
So maybe that's it. They want to get people down there to continue to
eat their breakfast?
To eat this food that continues to poison all of us.
Yeah. So the breakfast is classic. They serve oatmeal. And the oatmeal they serve, I think, is better than the oatmeal they served 10 years ago when I wrote the blog post. Because 10 years ago, they served the oatmeal in packets that had lots of added ingredients to it. And sometimes it had like a dairy product mixed in with it and sugars and things.
Ouch.
But they do serve plain oatmeal.
Okay, well, there you go.
So that's okay. But come on, folks. What do we know it has been found in conventional, or some people like to call it industrial, oats? If it's not organic, it has residues of glyphosate because the grains are often desiccated before being harvested with glyphosate with Roundup.
Bad for you.
It's bad for you. Thank you. It's toxic. So we eat organic oats.
Speaking of cancer, that could cause cancer.
Okay, maybe I'm being a snob.
I don't think you're being a snob.
But I don't want to eat conventional
I just think what the theme of the show is kind of, what we're talking about is how we continue to poison our bodies with all of this food that we think is really what we deserve. What we are, we deserve this hearty breakfast with eggs and waffles and bacon.
And they had all of those things at the breakfast. I checked it out one morning. We haven't been there back since because there's nothing.
But what we don't realize is that, or maybe we do realize it and we don't care. Again, we're compartmentalizing. It's like, I don't care what's in that stuff. I just know it tastes good. And
that's what I want to eat.
That's what I want to eat. So why the measuring cups? Why the measuring spoons?
Yeah, answer that question.
Baby formula. I don't know. Measuring dog food because it's a pet-friendly. Here we go with the pets again. It's a pet-friendly hotel.
Oh.
So maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a tricky woo that needs their dog food measured.
Okay, so
or their cat food measured.
I put it out there. If any of you work at Hilton and know about this research they've done and know why we have measuring cups and measuring spoons, but no mixing bowls, enlighten us. Send us an email at info@realmeals.org.
Yeah, but we've adapted. We've adapted
very well.
Like we had some popcorn, but we didn't want to use any oil or anything. So you asked the front desk for a paper bag. And the front desk has been great. I mean,
the service has been great here. Oh, absolutely.
The service is amazing here. This is amazing.
My only complaint is that the kitchen is not fully equipped as they advertise.
Yeah. And when you go to the front desk and you ask them for a can opener, I'm sure they'll have a can opener. You went to the front desk and asked for a chef's knife, and they gave us the dullest chef's knife anywhere. But if you chop on the glass chopping board, it's either that the carrot is going to be chopped first or the chopping board is going to break. But not, they have, the staff is amazing and they've given us everything we've asked for and so much more.
Yeah, and we've been able to make some pretty interesting
So the popcorn,
meals.
I was going to say, is you went to the front desk and you asked for a brown paper bag, and then you put a little popcorn in the brown paper bag and stuck it in the microwave, and we had popcorn.
Yeah, so for those of you who buy popcorn in a plastic bag to cook in a microwave, or do they come in plastic and then paper? Yeah, I think
it's paper.
Paper inside the plastic.
But it's like a waxy paper.
Yeah. You can just buy organic corn, and put it in a paper bag. Just fold it a bunch. Make sure the folds are strong. And then put your microwave on 3 minutes. And just listen to it pop. And at about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, it's going to stop popping. You can turn it off and you're done. Popcorn.
Yeah. That organic corn that you're buying has to be popping corn, though, correct?
I think it's just corn.
Okay,
I think it's just corn.
But not cooked corn.
Not cooked. Dried,
has
but
to be
not
dry.
cooked.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's funny.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all week.
I want to talk about a few more things we made here because...
Yeah, so we've got this full kitchen. It's great here.
I'm inspired sometimes. I'm challenged.
Right.
And I like to take the challenge of what can I make with what I have. So we have been staying in a variety of places, and we had a bunch of food with us that came with us, and I had ground up my own flour. I like to do this, right? I had ground oats, ground millet, and garbanzo bean flour. And I made you pancakes a few times.
You did?
You forgot that, didn't you?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
They were fantastic.
And then we had some frozen berries, and you could make a quick coulis by warming them up in the microwave. Now, we don't own a microwave at home, but when we're in hotels, we use them. So it's kind of fun. Very easy to make soup. And normally at home, we buy everything fresh and chop everything up. But if you're traveling, or even if at home and you want to do things quick, you can buy frozen vegetables already chopped up.
Yeah, that's what we did.
And you can
buy
frozen
organic vegetables and just throw them in some water with
some organic tomatoes. We like to buy Bio Nature in a glass jar.
Right. We usually start by chopping celery, carrots, and onions, do a mirepoix, and add a little water. Cook that down. It becomes a really great vegetable stock. And then you could add your frozen vegetables, your frozen organic vegetables.
Yes.
Your tomato sauce. Get a jar because your hotel room probably doesn't have a can opener. and add your fresh herbs and spices and your garlic and all of that. And you make a big pot of soup.
And we have a lot of beans here. And we have
dried
lentils,
beans,
which are quick cooking. and add them to the mix.
That was the other thing. We got quick cooking.
Green lentils and red lentils.
There you go.
Yeah.
They cook really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. And of course, we haven't been starving.
We have not been starving.
No, we've been living really well in this little hotel room.
And of course, we always make our own breakfast in the morning. We have lots of oats, rolled oats, and steel-cut oats. We don't have to go to the breakfast bar downstairs and get glyphosate oats.
Right.
We have organic oats.
Yeah, and the breakfast bar probably does have melon. You know, they always have
a fruit salad of sorts.
They have that fruit salad.
Yeah.
But I never...
And they have a lot of pastries that are made with wheat flour.
See, a lot of people really just go for that.
Of course, and you can make your own waffle.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's fun. Okay, but we're just bummers, you and I. Prudes. Snobs.
Hey, we got this fully equipped kitchen so that we could prepare our meals while we're here and eat well. And it's just been frustrating because they don't have the basics that I think
So what we need to do is we're going to continue traveling, continue working all around the country.
We have to travel with a kit.
We have to travel with a kit.
We've done that a few times.
We have to travel with a kit. We have to travel with our own knives, our own can opener, our own cutting board. You know?
Yeah.
We really should.
Next time.
Okay.
Well, Gary.
Has it been an hour already?
It's been an hour.
Wow.
Talking about food. We did it. Gary, I've really missed talking with you on this show for so long.
Me too. I can't believe it.
Oh my God, I really miss talking to you.
Oh, it's been so much fun.
But now we're in California and we learned how to talk like this.
Some guy at the grocery store today in Santa Cruz, he was like totally rad, and he like had a really big truck, and he pulls really close to the car, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I don't know what I'm doing." And then he left the truck, and then he realized he forgot his mask, so he came back in and he goes, I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, "Hey man, that's my line." And he goes, "It looks like you know what you're doing, but I totally don't." And it was so funny because he had this gigantic, like 10-ton pickup truck and the tiniest little dog just sitting in there waiting for him to come back. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. The smallest dog in the biggest truck.
And that was in the parking lot of Staff of Life.
In Santa Cruz.
Our favorite grocery store on the planet.
It's so cool there.
So cool in SoCal.
So it was about all creatures, great and small, in trucks.
Something like that. Gary, such a pleasure. All right, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed our rant and our conversation here. And everybody, have a delicious week.